Okay, so you guys have just talked about the difference between constructed and natural environments. And then today you're going to start making two different collages, one of a natural environment and one of a constructed environment. If you would like, you can go ahead and draw your ideas in your sketchbook. I'm just going to start right on my piece of cardboard. So you're going to get two pieces of cardboard like this, and it doesn't matter what side you do your gluing on. But the first thing you're going to do is on the back, I want you to write your first and your last name in the center, okay? Because we might be getting some paper and glue around the edges. So a collage is an artwork where you glue down other materials to your support, to your surface. And so we're using cardboard as our support, and we are going to be using magazines to go through and find what we need for our collage. Now, when we're looking through the magazines, we're not really looking for pictures of like people and things like that. We're just really looking for through the magazines for colors and texture. So for example, if I was going to do the sky, I might rip out some of this blue paper. If I was looking for something that was like a constructed environment, I might look for details that you would find like on a building or something like that, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and work on my constructed environment. So you are going to have some Mod Podge. I'm going to show you how to make it in case we need more. I put a little tiny bit of water in my dish, and I'm just going to add an equal amount of glue, okay? We do not need to make a lot of this. We will have some made up for you, but if you're ever doing this at home, it's just equal amounts of glue and water. This is like Mod Podge. You can go to the store and you can buy Mod Podge, but we're just going to make it. So this is going to be our adhesive. So I'm stirring it up with my paintbrush. And then I'm going to start to build my constructed environment. Remember, constructed environment is an environment that is made by people. It can have some natural elements in it. So I'm going to take this paper that has kind of like a gray, cloudy sky, and I'm going to use this to make my sky. So I'm going to rip it into smaller pieces. I'm going to take and I'm going to put on here some glue with my paintbrush, and I'm going to put my paper on top of the glue, okay? Now, I'm going to go over top of it to make sure it's lying down flat. You want to do smaller pieces. If you try to cover the whole thing with one piece, it's going to get bumpy and it's not going to lay down smoothly. I'm then going to put a little bit of glue on the back and keep going, okay? I'm going to go ahead and keep going. You can either leave the edges like this and we'll trim it later, or you can do like I did where I put some glue on the back and then I wrap it around. Either way will work, and either way will look nice in the end, okay? It's just important that you seal your paper with the glue, okay? So I'm putting the glue underneath and I'm putting the glue over top. So I'm going to keep going, making my sky. Remember, smaller pieces. You might get a little glue on your hands. That's okay. We all clean up in the end. I'm working really, really quickly because I want you guys to have time to work, but you can slow down, take your time when you're doing this. Okay. So I'm focusing on the sky right now. In a moment, I'm going to start to focus on the constructed environment, and I decided that I'm going to do a city. So what I did is I looked through and I found some papers that have like some windows and some different brick and stonework, and I'm going to take those and I'm going to use those to kind of help create the city, okay? So I tore my sky because I wanted those rough edges for the sky. But for my buildings, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut it with scissors. Okay, you don't want to cut everything out with scissors because the roughness kind of gives it some texture. But then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to put down my buildings, building them out of stone. Okay. And like I said, I'm making a city, so I'm going to keep going, adding more and more buildings to my city. This is actually part of a door, but I kind of like the texture of it. It kind of gives me like a look of stone. So I'm going to use that for part of my buildings. And I'm going to keep going, adding more and more buildings, okay? I will have this example done so you can see it in class. But you can kind of see I'm starting to add different rectangles down here for buildings. It'll look like a city when it's done, because what we're going to do is once you are done with your artwork, we are then going to take and you are going to add details over top of it to make it look more like it. So here's one that I was doing that was a natural environment, okay? And so you can see I kind of have some blues and grays up here. I have some grass here, and then I have this down here that's going to be water, okay? So it's all dry. I wrapped it onto the back, folded the edges over. I'm now going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to add some details over top of my drawings, okay? And you can kind of see that it's starting to have more detail. I'm going to now come down and going to start to think about how this is going to be waves because it's going to be water. I wanted to add some trees in the background. So I'm going to take my Sharpie, and you can draw with pencil first. I'm just drawing with Sharpie because I'm Miss Blackburn, and that's what I'm doing for the demo. But go ahead and draw with some pencil first if you're more comfortable with that. Remember, Sharpie's not going to wash out. So if you make a mistake, you're either going to have to be happy with your mistake, or you can always glue other papers over top of it. So remember, this is the natural environment, okay? So there's nothing made by humans on this environment, okay? So I went ahead, I glued my papers down, I added Sharpie, but I also want to add some color in here. So I'm gonna take a little bit of oil pastel and I'm gonna go over top of it. Okay, so you're doing really a mixed media artwork. We're using lots of different things to make some mini artworks. Now this is just a mini lesson, so it should take you about only 2 to 3 classes to do it, okay? This isn't gonna be something that takes a long time, so you're gonna have to like kind of work quickly to do this, okay? So there's no sitting around doing nothing. Okay, so I wanted to make my water a little bit more blue, add some white on there to look like there's a little bit of wind blowing. Okay, so I'm adding some oil pastels over the top. I'm going to add a little bit of texture to the bushes back here using my oil pastel. So in the end, I'm going to have two artworks. I'm going to have one that is a constructed environment, which means people made things in that environment. And then I'm going to have another that is a natural environment that was just found, okay? It's just there. People have not altered it. Okay. So you can kind of see how my artwork is starting to come out, okay? So you're going to start by collaging it, okay? Once it's dry, you are then going to maybe outline some things with Sharpie and then go over top of it with oil pastel, okay? So you're going to have a natural environment and a constructed environment. If you have any questions, ask Ms. Hale.